Hello again, friend. Thank you for joining me again today. I'm just going to get right into this. I notice when I watch my own videos that I end up doing this all the time. And I'm not sure why I do. Kind of a weird thing. I guess it's a nervous reaction to be talking to you on YouTube. I don't know why, but like now, my nose itches real bad because I'm on camera. What a silly thing. So I apologize. I'm not very professional. I'm just a farmer. I've got some information I'm trying to give to you. Hopefully you'll receive it as such. I wanted to do a quick recap. I watched the video that was sent out, I think it was 2 times ago, and I was talking about the biological chemical reaction. I don't think I did a good job in ending that thought. I got waylaid and went down the rabbit trail of talking about when I was an industrialized farmer and talking about all that. A whole lot of information that you didn't need and don't care about. I apologize. So the chemical biological reaction, what I really want you to understand from that is that the pesticides, the herbicides, the whatever, fungicides, mold, I don't know what the right name is for a moldicide. We'll just make it up and call it a moldicide. And, and an insecticide. Those pesticides, they all fall under the heading. The big top heading is pesticide. And all the rest of them are specific. They have a specific thing to an insect, to a plant, or a herbicide, or to mold, or to fungus. Those are all pesticides. So a pesticide is the top, the heading one of all of those things. All right. So how do they work? And what I really want you to understand is that a pesticide is applied to the crop the same as it is the pest. And the crop has to ingest and digest that pesticide just as the pest has to do it. And ideally, the pesticide kills the pest but leaves the crop without killing the crop. And so that when any pesticide, or then I wrapped it up, talking about lettuce, and that, the lettuce is dipped into water and hydrochloric acid solution, and chicken is dipped into water and some kind of acid. I looked it all up and I wrote it down, and we'll get to that later. But that stuff doesn't just sit on the outside. It gets taken in just like a pesticide does. And it goes into chicken, into meat just the same, because just as when you marinate chicken or beef or pork or lamb, that marinade gets into the meat, right? Thus marinating. And it's the same with these solutions that the meat is subjected to get it clean, and that the lettuce is subjected to get it clean. It has to go inside. It has to have a reaction with the biology of the crop, whatever that crop is, in order for it to be effective. It can't just, I said you can't just mist it. What I mean is that it can't just be on the outside. It can't just be on the outside. It has to get into, if it was just on the outside, then what's on the inside, of like a head of iceberg lettuce, what's on the inside would go bad and it would rot from the inside out. So it has to work its way into the crop in order for it to be effective. Okay, so it has to be in there. It has to. There's no way around it. All right, so look, there's another one of those nervous tick things. Geez, Lou. If I'm not on camera, I don't do that, but 2 or 3 times a day. But I get on here visiting with you and I'm just all itchy. Today I want to talk to us about what do you do in the winter. Kirsten and I were chatting, and we were talking about this, and she asked the question, well, what are you supposed to do in the winter? And her solution is, well, you got to buy organic. And I spun around and I said, well, really? Are you sure that organic is not, you're just not buying into the marketing yourself? Are you sure that organic is actually better? The answer is, I honestly don't know. I really don't know. Look, I got to get back on topic. I end up being, I hope that this is going to be like a 10 or 12 minute visit, and it's going to end up being 40 if I don't stay on what I've written, which I have on my screen here. Are you sure you're not just buying into the marketing hype? I was in the right spot. and I don't know. I mean, so emotionally, I want to say, yeah, you should buy organic. I mean, that's emotionally, that's what I want to say because the marketing has an effect on me as well. But I don't know. When I really apply what I know about organic, is it really worth it? I hate to say don't spend your money on organic, just go buy, the regular non-organic stuff off the shelf. I really don't want to say that, but when I really apply my mind, I think, why not? Why don't I want to just tell you to do that and save you money and save me money? I don't have an answer. And when I say it out loud, my emotions get involved. I go, yeah, I can't say that. But I don't know why. I don't have a good thought out A to B to C to D to E linear thought to give you to say buy organic. At the same time, I really don't want to say don't buy organic. So I don't know what to tell you. What do you do in the wintertime? I do, however, have a solution. And it's a fancy word. It's called larder. Make yourself a larder. Now, larder isn't exactly the right term because a larder refers to more than just produce. A larder is a stock of food. It would include your freezer. It would include your root cellar, which is what I'm going to talk about. And the idea in canning, I'm going to talk about canning. So all of those things would be a part of your larder, a place of stored food, your pantry for dried goods. So I'm going to encourage you to, I'm going to encourage you, if you have a basement, to build yourself a root cellar. And if you have a basement, then the basement's cool. If you've got a spot in there that isn't climate controlled, heated in the wintertime in particular, that's really good. And all you got to do is go into that, hopefully, room area and put in some wire shelving. Wire shelving is a good thing because that allows the air to get all the way around your produce. And a small fan. We use literally a fan that is like a 4-inch little fan that you would clip on your headboard in your room if you wanted to have a little fan blowing on you. They have them in like the hospital rooms too to keep you cool. So just a small fan that just barely moves the air enough. You just want to have a little circulation. And so a root cellar, and so how good does a root cellar work? Well, I'll tell you that for years, probably 5 years, we have had our own root cellar that we have lived and eaten we've eaten out of our root cellar. In addition, if you were one of our customers for Local Grown Harvest or Farm Fresh Freezer Meals, a lot of that food came out of our root cellar. And it works. So it needs to be cool in there. You don't want it to freeze. You want it to be cool. And you want it to be dark. And you want to have a little bit of airflow. And so what can you keep in a root cellar? You can keep winter squash. So like butternut squash and acorn squash. And I had thought of it, pumpkins. I love pumpkin. It's really good. There are all kinds of winter squash that you can get from your farmer, and you just make sure that there's no mud on it. A little dirt is fine, and most importantly, do not wash it. Don't take water and apply to it and rinse it off. Don't do that. There's some kind of a film on there, I think. I haven't read this, but just by my own experience, when you wash it, then it deteriorates very quickly. So you want to leave it whole. You want to leave it dirty, not muddy, but dirty is fine. And you want the stem to be on it because you want that to be sealed. The way you want to pick this stuff out is you want to find squashes that don't have nicks and dings in the skin. Those spots will go bad over time. So you want to have them that are nice and in good shape. They should be vine ripened. They shouldn't be like harvested early, and they'll keep. So those winter squashes, if you don't want to have them real tight together, they can be near each other, but you don't want them touching real hard because where it touches, then moisture comes together and they get hot and then they go bad. And a little bit of airflow on a wire rack. And then as far as amounts, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. So acorn squash and winter squashes keep real well. Pumpkins, butternut, acorn. The other thing, believe it or not, that keeps really well is cabbage. Take a whole head of cabbage and you wrap it in newspaper and you make sure that no part of the cabbage is exposed. You don't want it to be real tight. You just want to wrap it up in 2 or 3 or 4 layers and you just set it on the wire rack. And that cabbage, when you take that off, if you've done it relatively right, that cabbage will be pristine. And you might have to peel off a few of the outside leaves. And there you have it. Nice, fresh cabbage. I love cabbage. I like it boiled. I like it roasted. I love cabbage. You can even make fresh coleslaw in the middle of the winter time with your cabbage that you stored in your larder. And that gets you, so what cabbage does, cabbage can be a replacement for fresh greens. So you're getting to have that same roughage, that same fiber and things like that. And you can, the other way you can do it is saute it in some butter with onions. Leave it a little al dente. That gets you a little bit of to the tooth, like lettuce. You can kind of crunch on that. Maybe hit it with some, if you like soy sauce and Asian kind of flavors, that is nice. Throw in some peanuts. Oh, giddy up. Man, I'm hungry for it right now. Got myself all in a lather on some sauteed cabbage. The other thing that keeps real good is onions. They need to be, when you get them from your farmer, you don't want them right out of the ground. If you do get them right out of the ground, then Google it and they'll give you a process that I used to do for our onions. But you can put them right on the wire rack. Again, you don't want them to touch. A little air movement. And, by springtime, maybe your last onions will be a little mushy on the outside. Just peel it down to get to the good stuff in the middle. But you can have good fresh onions all winter long right out of your root cellar. And they are really good. Another good thing is turnips and rutabaga. My family didn't really like rutabaga very well, but I enjoyed it. Turnips are, they're both similar to potatoes. And turnips have a little less flavor than rutabaga, but more than potatoes. You treat them pretty much the same. Peel them, boil them, or roast them. And I actually prefer turnips or rutabaga to potatoes anymore. I really enjoy them. If you cook them up and mash them, and you just mash them with butter and salt and pepper, and maybe a little garlic, boy, that's dandy. That's good eating. Or as a friend of mine, Mike, says, you're in high cotton. You're walking in high cotton. So turnips and rutabaga. Potatoes keep great. Sweet potatoes and regular potatoes keep great in your root cellar. You want to get the mud off, leave the dirt, don't wash it until you're ready to use it. You can have a lot of great food right in there. The other thing that goes really well, you don't have to do this into a root cellar, but you can can. And you can can anything. You can can meat. And you can can, it's the wrong time of the year, but asparagus and jams and jellies and tomato sauce and pasta sauce and tomato jam and green beans and sweet corn and all kinds of things. There's There are a lot of things that you can. It's relatively cheap or inexpensive. There's a lot of information how to do it. There's a lot of disinformation how to do it. Everybody thinks it's so hard. It's not. I enjoyed doing it, and I really enjoyed having that food all winter long, until crops came back in the spring, to eat that good food that I knew what it was. A quick note that I have written below here, but if you would like to learn how to can, you don't know how to can, but you would like to learn how, get a group together. Get 3 or 4 people other that want to learn, 3 or 4 other people that would like to learn as well. Let me know. We'll put a group together right out here and I will show you. I've got a little, we sold our big commercial range, but I have another thing that costs, you can get every single day down at Cabela's. It costs $100. It's got a 2-burner little stove, and you can like crazy using that right out in your garage. So you don't even have to get your kitchen a mess. All right. And I'll show you how to do all that. If you have some folks that would like to do that, send me an email. We'll put it together, figure out the details. I would like to have a little money for my time, but to help you, I would do it without if it was going to be a game changer and ruin the thing. Maybe we'll get a little wine, a little snacks, have a little fun. It actually is a lot of fun, especially if you don't do it by yourself. You can have a lot of fun doing it. So you can can tomatoes. That's a little bit of work and it's a bit messy, but if you do it out in your garage, it's not too bad at all. Just kind of hose the whole thing down the drive or out into your grass. The other thing you can do with tomatoes that Kirsten really likes to do is she freezes them. She likes to freeze them. So you just take a whole tomato, you make sure it's clean. You want to wash that. You want to wash it under the water, under running water. Make sure it's good and clean. Dry it. Throw it in a freezer bag with other tomatoes, like Romas. What we used to get, maybe a dozen Romas. You want to keep them flat, just one layer. The reason you want to keep them flat is because if they're all on a whack, you can't stack them in your freezer. So then you got to freeze them. The problem with frozen tomatoes is that they do use up a lot of space in your freezer. But they work real great. You just get them out of the freezer while they're still frozen, turn on your hot water in your sink, and you just hold them under the hot water and you just rub it with your thumbs and that skin pops right off. Throw it in the pot for stew or for whatever you're going to use it for, and it's just fine. It works great. You still get the flavor. Canned tomatoes, when you get heirloom, you want to get heirloom of whatever, especially for tomatoes. I would recommend heirloom for everything because the flavor is better, and you know that the hybridization hasn't happened for shipping and for shelf longevity. It's been hybridized for flavor and for nutrition. That's what you get out of heirloom. Sorry, something just popped on my phone and it caused me to lose my concentration. You can freeze tomatoes and they work out just fine. But again, you want to make sure you have room in your freezer. All right. So you can also can like green beans. I have that down and I would gladly teach you how to do that. A word of caution about green beans. I love green beans, canned green beans. I think they're more tender, and you have to use a little salt when you can them so they come out and they're really tasty and they're tender. But the problem with them is if you're not really super careful about getting the strings off, even if you buy stringless, if they get old, they'll have a string on there. That string does not get any more tender or any easier to chew up after they're canned than if you cook them off from the vine. Actually, my favorite way to eat green beans is to just eat them raw, because that way that the flesh of the bean is right there and it allows you to get through that string that may or may not be there, and you can get right through them. So I actually prefer beans raw or canned. But I will teach you how to do that. And if you want to do that, we'll try and get it all put together and we can do it at once. Another way that you can keep stuff, particularly cabbage, is to ferment it, which is sauerkraut. I should have Kirsten get on here and do a thing about fermented food. fermented food is like top drawer. If you're eating fermented food, it is so good for your gut and for your digestive system. It is amazing. I haven't got my taste buds adjusted to fermented food. Even though I am half German, I can eat sauerkraut and I enjoy it in some times, but I can't just eat it straight yet. Maybe I will eventually, but those kinds of strong flavors are still, I haven't adjusted to it just yet. So you want to make sure that you put clean food into your root cellar and clean food into your larder, and it might start to go bad. You know, by springtime, you might start to say, "Oh my gosh, it's gone bad." Don't just throw it away. Don't just throw it away, because you can, like a butternut squash, you can cut that rascal in half and roast it. And when you get done, you start cleaning it out, and the bad spots show up just as clear as my big snot locker on my face. They're very obvious, and you just work around them, and you get the good flesh and the good food out, and throw the bad stuff away. Don't throw it away. It will start to deteriorate, but just like the outside leaves of a cabbage, you just take those, discard them, use what you have left. All right. So let me just a minute. And I just remind you here in the written is that part of your larder should be clean meat, which I have clean chicken. We don't grow chicken, we're seasonal. So when it starts getting cold, if you've got a freezer, you may want to start filling up your freezer. And if you get a good supplier for beef or for pork, I don't know what their situation is. I only know my situation. So if, when it starts getting colder, you may want to start filling up your freezer. We already have some of our ladies are already beginning to stock up. They're beginning to stock up for when we don't have chicken. Toward that end, and I can't, just a minute, I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see how long. Oh my goodness, 22 minutes. All right, I'll stop. I was going to start telling you about some of the testimonials that I get. I don't ever write them down, but people tell me all the time, man, when we don't get your chicken, we get store-bought chicken. One guy just today told me, he says, we ended up just throwing it away because it tastes so bad and I can't stand it. So our chicken's worth it. I know it costs a little bit more. We've covered that, but man, you can't beat it. So if you want to do canning, if you want to learn how to can, send me an email and we'll try and put it together. All right. Eat well. God bless you.